there anybody there?
Said the traveler, knocking on the moonlit door. His horse in the silence champed the grass of the forest ferny floor, and a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveler's head, and he smote upon the door again a second time.
Is there anybody there?
He said. But no one descended to the traveler. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood, perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men, stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hole, hearkening in the air, stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf, 'neath the starred and leafy sky, for he suddenly smote on the door, even louder, and lifted his head.
Tell them I came, but nobody answered. Tell them I kept my word.
Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backwards when the plunging hoofs were gone. So, The Listeners was a very interesting poem in many ways. The first reason I chose it was because it gave off a very mysterious feeling, and this was one of the reasons I had trouble finding a poem because I really wanted a mysterious kind of creepy um, poem, and then I found The Listeners by Walter Delamere. Throughout the poem, he gives multiple images of mysteriousness. So, in my short movie, to start off, I gave a fairly long introduction where there's not much speaking, and this is to kind of set the tone of the emptiness in the poem because there's really not much going on in the poem. There's a traveler, his horse, and an empty house. And I tried to keep it as simple as that, not try and add in any other things. One of the interesting images I used in my poem was just a small one. Was the closing of the gate. Although this wasn't included in the poem, I thought it was a very solemn reminder of how empty this place is. If you can hear the closing of the gate and there's nothing else to hear, this place truly must be empty, and there must be nobody there. The thing about this poem is that Walter Delamere, he gave us many gaps to assume things, and I thought it was kind of that's another reason I picked it, because he gave us a lot of gaps to come to our own conclusions about things, and that really brings out the mysteriousness of the poem.